Hello and welcome to the Software Engineering Panel brought to you by the Milwaukee Tech Hub Coalition. My name is Efrem Powell. I'm the Assistant Director of Engineering Support for Northwestern Mutual, and I am joined by a panel of, let me say, experts. Hoping to have kind of a rousing discussion around software engineering, how you get there, how we've gotten there, and maybe some options and opportunities that might be of value to you in the future. Um, so just to get things kicked off and to get things going, I'd like to just do a quick round robin of hellos and tell us a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself, share your current role, kind of your career journey thus far. I'll randomly pick based upon where you all are situated on my screen. Obviously, we're all working in this new virtual environment. So currently at the top of my screen, I have Dana Hart. Dana, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Thank you so much, Efrem. I'm very happy to be here today. So I'm Dana Hart. I'm a Senior Director of Engineering at Northwestern Mutual. I'm responsible for leading the engineering teams that build Northwestern Mutual's web experience for our clients and interested parties. So I started with a traditional computer science background. I was interested in technology, and I enjoy the challenges that tech and the constant change that industry brings. My first job was creating public-facing websites for a hospital system, and I loved it. I honed in to be a web experience focused developer ever since, with a keen eye for usability and understanding what users want or need from their web experience. I have never backed down from a challenge, so my career has been just that, raising my hand to take on new challenges like leadership, being open and vulnerable to failure, as hard as that is, learning and growing, it never stops. It's not always easy, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't change a thing. I absolutely love what I do. And honestly, 10 years ago, I would have probably laughed in your face if you said I was going to be a senior director. Um, Life's a roller coaster, take the ride.
Thank you, Dana. And don't let Dana fool you. She is an absolute rock star. You can ask anyone at NM about Dana or ask them if they know of or know Dana Hart, and they're going to tell you yes. And I love especially two things that you said, the change, the challenge of change and failure. You hear often people say failure is not an option, and we say failure is an option because that's where we learn the most. So thank you very much, Dana. Uh, Next up, we have on my screen, Lisa, we have Kedasha Kerr. I'm really excited to be here with Kedasha. Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Kedasha, and I currently work as a design systems engineer, which is still a software engineer at Northwestern Mutual. So my journey to software engineering was very nonlinear. Like 5 years ago, or even 2 years ago, I was a social worker and I worked in the government sector. And I decided to make a switch, make a career change, and attended a coding bootcamp for 10 very intense months. There were lots of tears. And I was actually hired at a conference by Dana, who is here with us today. And that's kind of how my professional journey in engineering started at Northwestern Mutual. So currently in my role, I work on the internal user interface team. So we build out components for engineers across the organization to use to make their production times, hopefully, a lot less painful. And so that's kind of what I do for work here.
That's awesome. And honestly, I've heard so much about you. I thought that you'd been in IT for years. That's amazing to find out that you just kind of jumped in there. That's a story I'd love to. I think we need to dig into a little bit further. Just the whole career change aspect of it, and especially one thing that you started with the design engineering and explaining that that's also a part of the software engineering roles. I think
Yeah.
oftentimes when people talk about getting into computers, all they think about is coding and programming, and they'll have this really short list of of roles that they're looking at, not realizing that there's such a broad spectrum of opportunities and roles out there. So that's something cool. I'm hoping we can dig into a little bit more later. And last but not least, someone I've never met before, so really be interested to hear a little bit more about you. Kohl's, we have a lot of people at Kohl's. My last boss was from Kohl's, and 3 of the 5 people on my team were from Kohl's. So maybe Adam is going to be at Northwestern Mutual in the near future. I don't know. So tell us a little bit about yourself at Kohl's, Adam.
Yeah, thank you. So I am a senior engineering manager and engineering lead for associate store experiences at Kohl's. And what that means is it powers the technology that all of our associates use in all 1,200 of our stores. I kind of started programming non-conventionally. I was pre-med first in college, and then that proved very difficult when I hit organic chemistry. And I discovered that like kind of lab work wasn't really my thing and wasn't really what I was interested in. So I searched for a new major, and it didn't really lock in until I got an internship with Apple. And throughout the year that I was in that internship, I discovered that computer science really was for me. And then I just really followed what was fun in my career. And I worked on some really cool things like Android head units for Mercedes-Benz cars. I consulted for Marvel on building their Comics Unlimited application for Android and iOS. I worked at Samsung. I worked in the startup space for an ed tech, which like lines students up from low-income communities and provides counseling services for free in kind of underserviced areas, which was really rewarding. And then right before Kohl's, I spent 3 years consulting and teaching extreme programming and agile principles and transforming enterprise organizations at Pivotal Labs.
Well, so that's a vast and varied career, which again goes to the fact that in technology, there are so many opportunities to get into things. So I always tell people who come to me and talk to me about careers and technologies, don't close your mind off to anything. Think about the thing that you love to do, and I'm willing to bet that we can find a technology niche to fit that in. So that's awesome. So we'll now that we've gotten to know everyone, just to kind of level set folks of what is the day in the life of. I know for myself, it's changed throughout my career. So when I was a developer, my life was spent actually coding. In cybersecurity, it was looking and watching. When I built data centers, it was me crawling around on the floor with cabling. And today, there's a lot of emails. So that becomes my life, is trying to herd the cats via email and Slack. So I'm curious, Kedasha, what does a day look like for you as a design systems engineer?
Yeah, so my day is filled with meetings. So we have review meetings, we have planning meetings, we have documentation meetings. So a lot of my days are filled with meetings, and if I'm not in meetings, I am coding. And if I'm not coding, I'm thinking. If I'm not thinking, I'm planning and researching. So that's honestly what my day is filled with. If I don't have like an external event that I have to do on behalf of a Northwestern Mutual or on behalf of myself, I am literally just in meetings or just coding. I believe you're on mute, Efrem.
A little trouble coming off mute. What languages do you code in? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so on my team, we are still considered a part of the front-end development portion family of roles in software development. So I work with JavaScript, React, HTML, CSS, semantic HTML, CSS, because that's important for accessibility. I'm pretty sure we're going to be using TypeScript soon. So that's going to be in my arsenal soon. Sometimes I work in Node, Gatsby, GraphQL. We use a lot of technology, and it all comes together to make the awesome products that we create for our clients.
Amazing. And yeah, you didn't spend your whole life in IT. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that. So Dana, at the senior director level, I'm sure, and I know that there are a lot of meetings, but tell us about your day.
Yeah, so you're right. It is full of a lot of meetings, but it's not boring meetings, right? People think about leadership and you're just sitting around with other leaders, twiddling your thumbs. Very incorrect. In the meetings I'm in, it's still very technical focus. So not to discourage non-technical folk, but it does make your life a lot easier if you do have a technical background as you kind of continue to climb the technical leadership chain. So my meetings, it's a lot of communication, a lot of trying to close gaps between your business partners who ask your teams to build a feature, some working with enterprise architecture on possibly experimenting with new technologies, wanting to maybe redo some of the architecture we have in play. We're a big AWS platform, so if they have some new toys or gadgets that come out, it's kind of thinking about how could we use this? Is this, a good tool to add to our toolbox or not? So it is a lot of thinking, a lot of POCing, a lot of future vision and road mapping, which is a lot of fun. As you grow, you kind of have your own ideas, you understand what your business partners want, how your clients use it, and then you're kind of in control of helping put together the roadmaps and the vision along with your product partners on what really your end product should be. That's what's really exciting. And of course, being a leader, I have staff, I get to develop them through my career. I have seen staff leave and grow. And as sad as it is to watch people, kind of leave the nest, it's exciting to see them grow in their career and continue on to other opportunities. But believe it or not, I still do find a few hours a month to code. And that's me personally. Like my hands will never leave the keyboard completely. I want to know how my teams operate. I'm very much focused on operational efficiencies. And the more I can continue to be hands-on and experience what they're experiencing, then I can go to my peers in other organizations to really help close those gaps or maybe just improve some of these processes. So it's automation, not as manual, less time consuming, etc. How do we operate at scale? So there's a lot of other interesting challenges that peak at the leadership level that I don't think people lower on the ground get to do, but they get to code all day. So I get to, the rest of the iceberg, the peak that's sticking out, I got to deal with that. So.
Nice, thank you. So you mentioned something, vision and road mapping, which for me brought to mind something that Adam brought up, which extreme programming, the agile framework, things like that. And I'm curious, Adam, can you talk a little bit about, especially from the perspective of the, your junior beginning coders and developers, what are the disciplines that also come along with not just being able to code, but some of the planning and project aspects of the development cycle?
Sure, yeah, no problem. So yeah, we are an extreme programming shop, which for those who don't know is a kind of a subset of the Agile school of training and thought. So that means that we have kind of intentional ritual meetings where they are all oriented to give us various levels of confidence and feedback that we are achieving our central goal, which is to develop great products that our users can then validate and tell us are great products or tell us what's not so great, right? That can be even more valuable. So we do a lot of work through kickoffs, inceptions. We have user research panels. We have a lot of discovery and framing events to make sure and really orient our products around our users, right? So we can, at every step of the way, validate that what we're building is the right thing to be building. And if it's not the right thing to be building, how do we fix it? How do we refine it, refactor it? And we do that in units of what's called a balanced team. So that means we assign a PM, a designer, and pairs of engineers to each product space. And I work over 9 product spaces, so we offer a lot of rotation between those product spaces as well. So any potential engineer could gain, any of the skill sets on any of those 9 teams over the span of a year or 6 months. So we break things down in those units. We allow them to be autonomous. And then we have very fast feedback loop meetings, which we use to reinforce our knowledge of our customer and our user-centered design.
Cool, thank you. So we'll switch gears a little bit. I burned a lot of time, I apologize. But I wanted to get back to, for folks that are thinking about a career change or folks that are thinking about a change into the IT career, what are some of the pathways that you found best in your journey? Some of the things that you kind of wish you understood then that you definitely know now. So kind of those milestones and things that you grabbed onto on your journey. And Kedasha, I just want to lean on you a little bit as the person that made that big career change. I'm really curious to hear about your journey.
Yeah, so I honestly got into technology and coding because as a social worker, I wasn't able to support myself. So I needed to find a way to support myself. And I discovered technology by learning about finance and money on Instagram of all places. And so that's kind of why I made the switch into tech. And some of the resources I started with was Free Code Camp, and Free Code Camp is a 100% free online coding bootcamp that anyone with internet connection can go to and start learning how to program and how to code. I would encourage, if somebody wants to get into the field, definitely start there. You can also take university level courses for free online. Yep, 100% free using edX and Coursera. So you can start there as well if you want a more traditional explanation and like video of actual professors teaching you how to code and program. You can also take certificates. So I know Google recently launched professional certificates for non-technical folks to enter the industry. You can take certificates in Android development, UX design, product management, and I think it's like $30-some a month through Coursera. So that's also a great and really affordable place to start. And you can also go to an expensive coding bootcamp if you want to accelerate that transition into technology. And just to reiterate, like, you don't have to code to work in technologies. We have designers, we have product managers, business analysts, data analysts. You may need math for that one though. Data scientists. There are so many roles, sales, recruitment. There's so many roles in technology and they all need to be filled. I know here at Northwestern Mutual, we have a lot of open roles. So if you like scan this little thing right here, you can go to our career page and explore all the open roles we have. But yeah, if you're interested in software engineering, definitely start with the free resources I mentioned. And if you Google free resources to learn how to code, there's so many blogs that will come up that will direct you in the right path as well.
Thank you. Dana, I was going to ask you, so, looking at, and again, we keep talking about the different roles in IT and software development. Do you have any recommendations for those who are looking for what that role might be for them? What strengths and ideas and interests might kind of guide them towards a certain role?
Sure. Yeah, there are so many possibilities out there. And sometimes out of college or out of a boot camp, it's really, where do you end up first? What is your first job and what are you doing? So I was in the camp of, I got into web development and that has literally been my entire career. And I love it. And I wouldn't change any other, wouldn't change it for the world. But at the same time, there is so much more out there, right? Like I said, technology constantly changes. And so through my career, I've been through multiple languages, multiple frameworks. The cloud didn't exist when I started or was in college. So no matter where you go, you're always going to have to learn. And honestly, like, I'm a data person, data nerd. I love the data, making data-driven decisions. Data science wasn't huge back when I was in college like it is today. And even like machine learning and artificial intelligence, it was just starting to peak and it wasn't part of all the computer science programs. Now, like, if I had to go back to college and redo it, I might end up in the data science world because I love data. I enjoyed math and analyzing numbers. But at the same time, if I wanted to hop, careers now, there are opportunities. I mean, you can go back for master programs, everything Kedasha said. There are a ton of online resources. So it's kind of like once you get your feet wet, you have an endless amount of opportunities, and you just have to go where your interest takes you. And at the same time, speak up for yourself. So I was a big introvert early on in my career, and I stayed quiet. I rarely spoke up. And it's hard to get what you want if you actually don't speak up. So also remember that, speak up for yourself, and that will help you get you to where you want to go. And it's okay to change career paths or to hop into a different interest. People change all the time. Adam was a really great example of all that. Like, that is amazing. So, no one's career looks the same.
Thank you. And we're running a little tight on time, but I wanted to get in one more quick question in for Adam. Specifically, especially with the broad range of paths and companies that you've worked for, is there something that you wish you knew earlier in your career that might have kind of changed that path?
Yeah, I think Dana hit on it already a little bit. I definitely agree with her that, you don't really have to go super deep into a particular field. I spent the first 7 years of my career thinking that I needed to be this hardcore like Java Android engineer. And in reality, like the whole world of other technology is far more interesting to me now. Whether it be full stack web applications or backend APIs, or even scripts that you run on your machine, like it's just all so fun. So I would say don't look to be an expert in one particular tech stack. Look to be a very good engineer and intermediate level in a bunch of different tech stacks, and just have fun, play around, like just build cool things. Yeah. The other piece I will say from a management perspective is, I was afraid for a decade that I had a binary choice between coder and manager, but there are plenty of hybrid manager roles, including here at Kohl's, where you can spend about half of your time coding and half of your time being a manager. And the buzz that I get out of watching people's careers develop and watching them fulfill their passions and accelerate and gain these new skills, and then, like Dana said earlier too, go off and start their own things and be successful in their own right, that feels really good too. That feels almost as good as solving a hard coding problem.
Agreed. I can't agree more with everything everyone said. I mean, my career path is the same way, starting in development, moving to cybersecurity. I actually moved to data center design, architecture, and then moving into management. And one of the things that I wish that I had really kept a tighter hold on was something that Dana mentioned of, hey, always finding that time to get hands on keyboard. I feel like I let a little bit too much of that slip in my quest to be a good development manager. And so now it's this kind of struggle to kind of dig back and get back. But man, I could talk to you all for another hour, easy. In fact, maybe we can get together at some time, and I would love to sit down, have a drink with you all, and continue this conversation. But we need to wrap up. If you all could at least take 10 seconds, just kind of final thoughts, and then we'll go ahead and close out. Dana, you go ahead and start.
Sure. I mean, if you even have the littlest thought of getting into tech, give it a try. Go take some of those free boot camps. Where you start does not mean is where you're going to end in your career. There are endless opportunities. I cannot emphasize that enough, that if you feel you're tech savvy, you will find your thing. You just have to look for it. You just have to start. So start. We'd love to have you on our team.
Kedasha?
Yes, I would like to say that we need you in tech. Yes, you, the one that's listening to this conversation right now, we need you in tech. And you can start by taking this quiz by Skill Crush. It's called, Is a Tech Career Right for You? And there are so many options. So if you start there, they'll give you like an exact path to go to. So just start there. As Dana says, just start. And when it gets hard, just cry and just keep going.
I took that quiz. It told me I should be a lawyer, so I stopped taking that quiz. Adam?
Yeah, so for any of those folks watching who want advice on, how to land that job without a degree or without maybe a boot camp under your name, one really impressive move that I saw recently was I had a person who was very confident that they could fulfill all of the job description, but didn't have that degree. So they asked in their first contact with the recruiter for a take-home engineering quiz, and like they wanted to build something. And that bypassed the recruiter, that bypassed the phone screen. The recruiter started talking to our engineers about that. And then, we were able to deliver that take home. And there was all this buzz around that. So use that. And then, yeah, to reiterate what Kedasha said, like there's a bunch of free resources. Don't discount YouTube. It may be a little hard to parse YouTube, but there are so many resources on YouTube. Yeah, and they're all free.
Yeah. My first AWS certification, all built on free training. So again, thank you all for being candid, frank, open, honest, and providing such great information. Really do appreciate it. I don't know how the format works. I don't know if there's going to be a list of kind of terms or maybe some of the options that we talked about for training. Maybe that could be kind of a screen running at the end as credits or something like that. But I'm sure we can see what we can do. And if nothing else, you have our names here. Feel free to reach out. I'm on LinkedIn. I know Kedasha's got a very large presence in LinkedIn and in the blog sphere and the podcast sphere. Dana's out there as well. Adam, I'm sure, is probably out there. So I'm going to be looking all of you up. So thank you again for your time today. And I think that's it for us. Have a great evening or a great day.